And good evening, everyone out there. Welcome back to the Go Mode Podcast Twitch channel. We are back with another race in the 2020 Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament. I am Cool Papa Bell commentating for you tonight. Alongside me is the Daddy Gamers. How are you doing tonight, TDG?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to see this race. We're in week 3 of the Mentor Tournament, which means actually our runners are going without mentors tonight. So we'll see what they have picked up from the first couple of weeks.
That's right. For those of you who are joining us, just tuning in, or aren't quite sure what's been going on, this is the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament. And for the first 2 weeks, our racers have had a mentor kind of buzzing in their ear, giving them tips and tricks, helping them out, helping them route. But this is week 3, and this is the first week that our racers are on their own. So it's still an ambrosia seed. They're still going to get that sword in the beginning and go through the escape, but they are on their own, mano a mano, or the feminine or neutral version of that, but they will not have the benefit of a mentor this week.
And yeah, both of these runners are 1-1, so looking to improve on that record this week for sure. But yeah, we'll see how things shake out. And again, Ambrosia is a standard start, assured sword at the beginning, and then once we get into dungeons, we are guaranteed that every boss will have an item of some sort, so not a map or a compass or anything like that.
That's right, and it's going to be really important for our racers to make sure they track the number of items they pick up throughout the dungeon, because that's going to help them in some of their dungeons to avoid opening unnecessary chests when they know that there's one more item left and it's on the boss. They don't have to check those last 1, 2, maybe 3 chests, depending on the layout, for keys, maps, compasses. That last item's on the boss. They know exactly where to go, get that big key or not in some dungeons, and get that last item.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I don't think I've ever done an Ambrosia race without forgetting at least once that the last item was on the boss.
Yeah, Thieves Town is usually my worst one, and it looks like we are off. And we're going to start off. We're going to inherit a lot of money from our uncle, 300 rupees in Link's house.
Yeah, we also saw the other aspect of Ambrosia there that I forgot to mention, which is that we get a boots hint from the uncle, which is unfortunately Turtle Rock for this particular seed.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really late. Probably the last thing some of our racers pick up, unfortunately. If TR is even a crystal, if it's a pendant, we may not even see boots.
Yeah, and that boots hint can really sort of warp your routing. Sometimes you dip into a dungeon before you would normally, just trying to get the boots out of there. So we will see how our runners handle that one.
Yeah, it's curious. So I myself like to, when I see boots moderately early or even maybe potentially early accessible, whether it's a light world or dark world location, or maybe like an Eastern Palace where it could still be Sphere 1. I like to check Lumberjack ledge, but when you see boots this late, you could see orphaning that location pretty easily.
Yeah, there's just sort of hardly anything that the boots could be locking behind them that you're going to need to finish the seed at that point. So it's definitely possible, but fairly unlikely.
Yeah, and chat pointing out that while we got bombs in Escape, we also have the bomb prize pack on Green Guard. So our runners are going to have no problem full clearing Escape, including that back room on the first go around.
Yeah, really nice start overall with cash early on to do bottle vendor when we get to Kakariko, and bombs to get us out through Escape. So fairly nice start so far.
And both are keeping pretty much in step with each other. It's very, very even. In fact, I might say itsotter might have a 1 or 2 second lead, just looking at the timers and pathing right now. But see what we get in this chest. The big 20. So I don't know about you, Cool Papa, but one of those items I'm kind of always hunting for or hoping I get in Escape, just to make it a little quicker, is that magical mirror. Just the idea of being able to mirror from Zelda's cell. I don't know, but I get so excited when I can shave like a minute off of Escape because I don't have to backtrack.
Yeah, that's really nice. I think that's the only way I ever get that 6-minute escape that we're supposed to be shooting for. But
All right, well, they both got the big key and just some more bombs.
also a good time while our runners are going through this fairly scripted escape sequence to shout out Oro, who is doing the restreaming for us tonight, and Antissim, who is tracking for us.
Yes, big shout out to those guys. Thank you both. And it looks like both our runners are on a pretty good pace for this escape sequence.
Yeah, not really having to spend any extra time trying to farm for those bombs. So,
and that's always nice. It's always, a bad feeling when you can't get them in the beginning. You don't find them in a chest. And then it's okay. How long do you spend trying to figure out which prize pack the enemies have, and then of course when you find one, it's like, oh, there might be bombs in this prize pack, and then you don't get the drop. How long do you spend killing keys or ropes, just hoping that you get that drop? Both of our runners with 6 bombs don't have to worry about killing enemies with the bombs. They've got that assured sword, so it's going to be a really nice standard escape for both.
yeah, I mean, during the races that I mentored these first 2 weeks, pretty much the only thing I did during the escape sequence was have that prize pack page open so I could sort of advise the runner on, whether they should keep farming a particular enemy or not.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't familiar, there's absolutely nothing wrong with keeping little web pages with tips and tricks, whether it's prize packs or darkroom maps, open to the side. You're absolutely allowed to do that. In fact, it's encouraged, especially when you're learning some of those more complicated dark rooms. Or even maybe the easy ones if you're just learning them. Things like the pod dark maze, things like the mountain cave. It's definitely very encouraging and helpful, because you never know what might be sitting behind that dark room, and you don't have to go looking for that lamp. All right, and let's see how valuable those bombs are as both of our players are about to check the back of escape. Ooh, half magic. It is going to be real nice for our runners having that super early. It's going to make things like the moth fight, if they have to do Skullwoods, much easier with half magic. It's going to make things like Turtle Rock, even if they have to do Trinax, having that half magic, much easier. And even GT.
Yeah, just a really nice convenience item to have early on, especially.
All right, and both players coming out of Sank right around the 6:20 mark. So very, very good time. About a 6-minute 6:05 escape, and it looks like both players are going to head into Kakariko. Very standard routing. And it looks like itsotter is going to go straight for the Lost Woods. It looks like Arusta might give us a check over at Lumberjack Ledge. Oh, no, he is.
Also, got to give a shout out to itsotter for tracking the items in Escape and knowing that Sanctuary Chest was going to have a map in it. So you just skipped right past that one.
Mm. Yeah, that's good map awareness, if you will.
Don't talk to a League of Legends player about map awareness, man.
All right, so Lumberjack Ledge had nothing, and nothing really exciting in Lost Woods, so it looks like both of our players are going to head into CAC. And itzotter's just going to have a little bit of a lead over Arusta for skipping Lumberjack Ledge. He doesn't know it, but that was a good orphan choice. And again, with all those bombs our players were able to get, it's going to be real easy to clear out CAC, not having to worry about buying bombs or trying to get lucky in Blind's Hut or the Cack Well, being able to clear out these 2 rooms that each have 1 chest. Ooh, powder. And the Moon Pearl, okay. And Arusta giving us our first map check. I didn't quite get a chance to see those crystals pendants.
There was red crystals at both Hera and Desert, and then Eastern is a crystal as well.
So we got 3 crystals in the light world, and both red crystals are in the light world. So let's see if that has an impact on things.
And Renner's definitely going to be hoping for maybe Hammer and get that magic bat check out of the way right now. Among other reasons why you want the Hammer, I guess.
Yeah, Hammer is going to be able to get that check out of the way quickly while they're in CAC. Also, with early powder and Hammer, it's always a question, is powder part of the logic fill, or, do we have it early because there's progression back there? itsotter also picking up the cape in Cackwell, which Arusta will get momentarily. So, we're just a lamp away from Aga 1.
Yeah, that cape always makes you just a little bit nervous.
All right, but itsotter finding gloves in the chicken hut, so we're that much closer to Dark World access. So hopefully we'll find either that hammer or those Titan's mitts, and Aga will be not even a thought in our mind. itsotter picking up the hook shot in the brewery. Or excuse me, that is the back of the brewery, right?
Tavern, I guess. I think a
Tavern.
brewery is the Dark World one.
Right, brewery's the Dark World location. Okay.
But yeah, that glove also opens up some, and hookshot together sort of open up some routing options. There is the possibility of sequence breaking Death Mountain at this point, if our runners are interested in that at all, or if they want to stick closer to the logic. The hookshot can also be a little bit concerning if you're worried about Aga, though, because since that does open up West Dark World once you've defeated Aga, a lot of times that hookshot can be a pointer that's where the seed is sending you. And looks like itsotter is going to head toward Death Mountain right away. So yeah, itsotter is opting into this sequence break with 7 items in Paradox Cave. You can see why he is tempted to head up in that direction. And if all your sequence breaking is the lamp, then you're not worried so much about breaking that logic and losing track of where that's going to be. You are making a little bit of a bet that it's the lamp giving you logical access to Death Mountain and not the flute, because of course if it's the flute, you want to find that as soon as possible and start making use of it, where Arusta is going to go ahead and stick with the logic and is going to go ahead to South Shore. Nice hookshot clip from Arusta there in the dam entrance.
Yeah, that looks nice, and it always just saves just a little extra time in screen transitions. Oh, did you see what's on top of Spec Rock?
I seem to be a little bit behind, but ooh, Red Cane, very nice.
So our runners are definitely going to hope for, an early mirror because they're going to want to try and get a hold of that before doing Swamp Palace or Ice Palace. And Arusta going to give us the back of Mini Moldorm.
And we'll see how Paradox pays out for its otter, since that's really what he's betting on coming up to the mountain this early.
Ooh, Flippers and Mini Moldorm. That's going to put a lot of the Zora checks, and actually all the Zora checks in logic.
Yeah, and Arusta is just short of cash for Zora at this point, but he can farm some rupees out of the cave in front of Ice Rod Cave if he wants to.
I mean, this is Otter's last chance of finding something significant without that hammer. Oh man. Well, he's gonna take a shot at Spiral Cave, it looks like.
Yeah, and the upside of sequence breaking the mountain like this is you do get the save and quit point out of it. So even if you don't find any items up here directly, you can get back up here really easily after having rescued the old man. So it's not much of a penalty really for doing the sequence break.
Yeah. And Arusta picking up his Master Sword in Ice Rod Cave. And, oh, I like this play. He knows that there are those 5-piece rupees under that rock, and he's going to farm for Zora money.
Yeah, when you only have to do this once or twice, usually makes a lot of sense to do and just get Zora out of the way right away.
And it looks like we've got a Quake medallion on the floating island. So we'll see if that comes into play later.
Yeah, and Otter has gotten a lot of good information out of this mountain trip. Even if he hasn't gotten those items, knowing exactly where the cane is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's true. Let's just hope he doesn't have to make multiple trips up Death Mountain based on the layout of progression. Okay, he does get the mushroom, so we can see if that leads to anything. And Arusta will get his baby's first shield from the hobo. So it looks like Itzotter's going to now do his South Hyrule checks. Arusta, having picked up the Flippers in Mini Moldorm, is going to do the Zora checks. Gonna set it up. Okay. So he can go left out of this portal. It's really important when you're fake flippering so you don't get hit by that Zora.
And you have to expect Itsotter is going to follow on those flipper checks as well after Mini Moldorm.
Yeah, so right now I would say Arusta's probably a little bit ahead. It seems like that Death Mountain trip didn't really pay off at Itsotter. You got the information, but he hasn't actually gotten any progression. And it looks like flippers have not actually led to any progression. They were not required for Zora because we have the gloves. So that could be pointing to a potential early Swamp Palace.
Or, of course, maybe just, the game had to put the flippers somewhere, and that's where they ended up, which is the frustrating and exciting thing about Rando, I guess.
Yeah, well, considering that we just got that mirror from Zora, I'm saying it's an early Swamp play. Because we've got Hook, we've got Flippers, we've got the mirror. We're a hammer away from being able to full clear Swamp.
Yeah, I agree with you that smells like swamp. Especially because even though that's not how anyone ever gets to Zora, the gloves do also put Zora into logic. Since you can just lift that rock behind the witch's hut and walk up to Zora. So yeah, the flippers were not required to give us access to that mirror. So that really does feel like swamp.
And what's worse is that when itsotter, assuming he follows suit, finds that mirror, he's going to feel real bad about having made that first trip up to Death Mountain, knowing that he could have um, gotten that cane and at this point done Tower of Hera.
Yeah, full Tower of Hera might not be in logic, depending on. Ooh, there are the mitts and a bow. Hold on.
Oh man, Saha had the goods tonight.
So you gotta think we are headed right into Eastern Palace. Although you could, at this point, if you wanted to, think about trying to put this off and do Pod and Eastern at the same time, since that mirror is available already. But Arusta is going to go right into Eastern.
Yeah, you know what? You could. But if I'm in Arusta's shoes, I figure I'm in the Eastern area. It's a crystal, and there are 3 pendants in the Dark World. So there's a almost 50% chance that Pod's a pendant, and our players are going to want to try and avoid dipping into pendant dungeons as much as possible because we only need those 7 crystals. This is not vanilla.
Yeah, what was I about to say before the mitts and the bow interrupted me? I don't even remember at this point.
We were talking about how itsotter is probably going to regret finding that mirror, having already made 1 trip up to Death Mountain.
Yes, that's right. The you can full clear Hera at this point with the Hera pot glitch, and possibly even without it, depending on what the key layout is, whether you have to go to the basement or not. So yeah, that doing that Hera trip all at once will be really nice for Arusta when he heads up the mountain.
Yeah, you could get one in Ambrosia. You can get 1 item off the boss. Right. The question is, where's that second item, and does it require a big key?
Yeah, and question in chat also, since itsotter is 7 rupees short of Zora, the stun prize is a heart, I believe. So let's hope he can farm 7 rupees off of the.
No. Oh no.
Oh, ouch. Oh, that feels bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long time before itsotter potentially comes back for that mirror. That's real unfortunate. And Arusta is making quick work of Eastern, and has found his tempered sword, and is going to do this first dark room, getting the small keys so he can head over to the big key chest.
So yeah, itsotter is gonna hope that maybe Swamp is a pendant, or maybe itsotter could route in Catfish pretty early on, and then I was about to say, and then mirror to Zora, but that's not really possible, is it?
No, and that's what I'm thinking is if normally anything you forget, right, you can pick up when you do Catfish and mirror back to the light world, but the mirror is what you're missing. And I don't see an opportune time to go back and get that. If it's needed, itsotter is going to have to go out of his way. He's going to have to go out of his way to go get it.
Yeah, I would say probably the best time to do it, which might actually come up, is since we've got those mitts. If he finds either Bombos or Fire Rod and decides to make an early ice play, you might just hop back through the whirlpool and go up to Zora right then.
Yeah, that's true. And I really like what Arusta did here. He had 2 hearts, but you can drop down into those pots and get the fairies and do this dark room with full health, just a little extra security. With blue mail, Not too challenging if you know the layout. And he's got the key. Looks like he's trying to get his bearings. Okay, so he's going to reset the room. That's okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. When you run into situations like that, it's better to just kind of go a little bit slow, because ducking back out of the room and grabbing another fairy is way less time than if you take a death in that room. So,
absolutely. And itsotter is going to follow suit, right? Finds the Titan's mitts, finds the bow, and is going to head into Eastern and do the same thing. And this is what's almost even more concerning. Arusta's got to be careful here. Down to 1 heart, but makes it. Okay. If you're in itsotter's shoes right now, you're thinking, okay, well, I've got Dark World access. You don't have to worry about Aga 1. There's a lot you can do in the Dark World with the Titan's mitts. It could be a long time before he goes back to Zora for an item. It's almost one of those situations where at this point, the more progression you find, the bigger the hole you dig for yourself, if mirror is required. Chat asking where the boots hint was. The boots are in Turtle Rock. And Arusta checked Lumberjack ledge and saw it was junk. Itsotter orphaned it. So neither player any better or any worse.
And Arusta finishing off the Armos Knights there and getting our first bottle. So can check Sick Kid on his way to the Dark World, assuming he heads there next.
Yeah, and Laggy bringing up a good point. When Arusta decides to go to Death Mountain with the Titan's mitts and Mirror, he's going to have a really nice way to full clear in 1 shot.
And if Turtle Rock turns out to be a Quake for entry, that means your entry into Turtle Rock is just sitting right there on Death Mountain, right on the doorstep. So Arusta might even think about dipping in there to look for those boots, depending on the fire rod and other aspects of the situation at that point.
That's right. For those who don't know, even though you don't have the fire rod and can't do Torch Room, depending on the key layout, it is possible to be able to go all the way to Laser Bridge without a fire rod. In fact, we have, depending on the key layout, have access to something as ridiculous as Mimic Cave.
I think if you play Rando long enough, you'll run into that seed where Fire Rod is in Mimic Cave or something like that. So certainly not wishing that on our runners tonight.
Oh gosh, absolutely not. So Arusta dips into the Dark World and is going to do the Village of Outcast checks. Itsotter finishing up Eastern. And he'll get his bottle. Let's see if Arusta remembers to mirror and check Sick Kid while he's running around. And okay, we've got pendants on Thieves Town. Pod is our green pendant, and Ice Palace is our pendant. So that mirror is required. Oh no. Swamp is a crystal, and that mirror is absolutely required.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge stumbling block for Otter in this seed. Yeah, SEJ in chat calling for an early mushroom check from Otter. That would also get him back in the Zora area.
Yeah, and the earlier he does that, I think the better off he's going to be. In fact, Arusta, I like this path, right? I like starting out in the Village of Outcasts. He's going to be able to route in Blacksmith, the Purple Chest, Cavefoot, all the checks on the way to Swamp. And he's probably just going to dip into Swamp without the Red Cane. He's got everything he needs to do it. Oh, he doesn't have the hammer. We don't have a hammer yet. I take that back.
Yeah, I think that's also why he's holding off doing even the front of Thieves Town. Probably wants to have the hammer before dipping in there, just in case you need to go back and get the big chest, something like that. I also do like the play that Otter is doing. Once you've done the sequence break for Death Mountain, you kind of want to follow up on that play. And he is taking advantage of that to check Dark Death Mountain relatively efficiently as well.
Yeah, and he had a really nice hookshot clip of those block and finding the book. So Super Bunny Cave has the book, and he's got that hookshot. So it looks like, okay, he's going to check the Turtle Rock Medallion, which is Bombos, and probably going to do Hookshot Cave.
All right, Arusta is going to head back into front of Thieves Town as well.
All right, so the question is, does he do the first 4, or does he keep going? So far, Hookshot Cave isn't paying off. One more shot. No. And once again, real unfortunate that now itsotter has made 2 trips up here without the mirror. Still can't get that cane. And can't do Tower of Hera.
Yeah, and he'll definitely have to come up at least one more time before, even if he saves Turtle Rock till the end, because he'll need that cane to do Misery Mire. So, yeah, a lot of time invested into the mountain, which is just unfortunately not paying off for Otter.
Yeah, it was. I like the gamble, right? I like the logic break, because you never know what's behind there that you can finish down in lower Hyrule, before you venture back up there. But unfortunately, this time it didn't pay off. He's got the information, but he just can't do anything with it yet. And it looks like Arusta is going to continue on through Thieves Town. So what do you think of this play?
I think it's a little bit earlier than I would do it personally, but at least for an off pendant. If this were the green pendant, I'd be a lot more tempted to do it, since there's essentially 2 items on blinds. You're getting a little bit more value out of it. I would at least go down to Hype Cave and then maybe come back into the village before doing the sort of north Dark World loop, and maybe come back into Thieves Town then.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm mixed about it. Not having the hammer, potentially having to orphan an item. There aren't a lot of attractive places to go right now without that hammer, right? Pod's a pendant, and you still can't even clear it without the hammer. If you skip it and you finish Hyrule and you don't find it, Thieves Town kind of becomes your best bet. So then you end up having to come back here, through Sanctuary. Because without the hammer, the only place you can get into the Dark World right now is either north of Kakariko or the Ice Palace portal.
Yeah, the thing always though about Rando, right, is the way you get big leads on people is making plays that are not the percentage plays, and then paying off, right? So sometimes you take a chance on this. You get 2 or 3 extra items. Maybe it's not the absolute most item dense location, but if you think your opponent's not going to do it and you find something, then you gain a ton of time on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is that small key. I don't know how many items we found, but there is definitely something in the big chest, and it's not a key. So, oh yeah, he's got all the dungeon items. So we're definitely orphaning an item in the big chest.
That does make a bit more sense, though. If there were 3 items in the back, that definitely weights your decision about whether to finish off Thieves Town your first trip through or not.
And Arusta is through phase 2. He's on to phase 3. Got to be a little careful here. He has the cape, and he uses it. Nice play.
Yeah, had that cape out and ready. Really smart to remember what safeties you have and make use of them.
And Arusta's not going to lose any time here, as itsotter is going to make the same play. And it looks like he's going to continue on. All right, so Arusta looks like he's going to finish up the rest of these Dark World checks. Do the dig game, probably hit up Cave 45 and the Stumpy, and hopefully our hammer shows up between now and Hype Cave.
Yeah, he's leaving behind the purple chest probably with the way he's routed this.
I think you have to do the dig game first.
Yeah, I feel like it feels like kind of a waste to go back for the purple chest at this point. I'd just rather do it right with Smiths, so I don't know if we'll see what he decides to do here. Yeah, he's going to head back up.
Yeah, he's going to head back. Yeah. I like this. I mean, he did do the Smith earlier, before dipping into Thieves Town, because you didn't have to go that far to pick up the blacksmith and turn him in with the mirror. But I like this play. You're gonna have to. You don't have the boots. You're gonna have to run down and do Stumpy and K45 anyway. This isn't a bad play.
Yeah, I think getting the purple chest right now is a good idea. It just would have been slightly more efficient to save the Smiths until after dig game as well, but not that big of a deal.
Agreed. I do concur.
So itsotter about to get the bad news about the small key.
Yeah. So do you like dinner rolls?
I do like dinner rolls. I feel like on their own they're kind of missing something, though.
No, they taste a lot better with butter. And Arusta will be able to enjoy all the dinner rolls he wants with that sword.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a Daddy Gamers commentary without some dad jokes, right? So
that's right. Well, that's all I got. I couldn't get Timp to send me the audio clip from the last Go Mode podcast episode, which, by the way, you do want to make sure that you subscribe and tune into the Go Mode podcast, released on Wednesday mornings every 2 weeks, to give you tips and tricks about a Link to the Past randomizer.
Absolutely. And also we've got links to the Discord that we can get into chat as well if you want to come and join the community, talk about the podcast, all things randomizer.
And unfortunately, that purple chest is not going to have the progression we're looking for. So K45 had our 4th sword. Stumpy didn't have anything of value, so you got Hype Cave, and what else?
I mean, we could always swim across Dark Lake Hylia and get into Eastern Dark World, make that hammerless either swamp or pod dip are options as well.
Never mind. When the NPC has your key item.
Yeah, and that hammer is going to open up a lot. So I would suspect we'll see Arusta go right into Swamp Palace at this point, with all the signs pointing toward that.
Or not. Oh. I sit corrected. Yeah, I think Arusta was thinking pod and then just remembered it was a pendant. So probably want to try and avoid going into there as long as possible. And he's going to take a quick step outside, get some fresh air, mirror over and flood the dam, and do swamp.
The downside, though, is that itsotter is also going to find that hammer in just a second, and that will probably lead him directly into pod, since he is missing that mirror, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I guess the good thing is if Arusta finds progression in swamp and itsotter finds progression in pod, Arusta is probably going to follow whatever progression he finds and stay out of pod as long as that breadcrumb trail keeps going, right? Whereas itsotter, if he finds progression in pod, that's actually the best thing that he can hope for right now.
Yeah, and maybe something like flute would be really good for Otter to find, because that would facilitate his going back to Zora a little bit sooner. Something like that could be really big on his side.
Absolutely, yeah. He also something like Bombos, while TR's a pendant. So, but maybe he goes in there for the boots. I don't know. There's got to be something to kind of swing the pendulum, I feel, back in his favor.
Yeah, the Bombos could also make him think Ice Palace, which again we talked about as one of the spots where Zora would kind of be on the way to that. So we will see how it shakes out.
Oh. And it looks like we got another fetch quest item on the pyramid. So unfortunately, that shovel could lead him a little farther away or closer. Remains to be seen. And oh man, yep, itsotter's gonna go and do pod. Well, I can't say with his item loadout that right now that isn't his best play.
Yeah, I mean, he's already cleared out what he can do on the mountain, more or less. I guess Hammer opened up Hera and Spike Cave, but he probably doesn't want to go the long way around to Hera if he can avoid it.
And it looks like Arusta is just going to skip the left side of Swamp and go right ahead and just finish the dungeon.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of putting off left side until you have the big key at least, because then you don't feel like you have to backtrack if you find the big key in the back or something like that.
Yeah, and if we'll be able to count and see how many items potentially he orphans on the left side. It's possible that the map and compass are both there. We did get that single arrow of destiny. And what was... Oh, I didn't quite catch that second flooded chest.
That was our compass in the second chest, so at least one item left behind on the left side.
All right. Oh, there's the big key. So now we know there's at least two. Because the map is going to be either the other item on the left side of Swamp or in that big chest. And looks like pod so far is not bow locked. See what's in this chest. No. So if you're Arusta and you know there's 2 items left in here, do you go back?
I mean, probably. I feel like the seed has been pointing you towards Swamp Palace so hard that I would be pretty sure that there's progression in Swamp at this point. So I'd be pretty tempted to go back in for the left side.
Yeah, I think at least the big key, since it was in the back, you go back for the big key chest, right? You needed hook for the big key, and you got it. You got the hook. And my stream stuttered out. Was there anything on Argus there? I had a little bit of lag.
Nothing interesting. And yeah, Rooster thought about it for a second and did go ahead to dip back into Swamp.
Yeah, I think this is a good play. Regardless of if progression is back here, it's really early to start offering too many locations. Especially, as you said, when you had all the items pointing you here. I mean, Sphere 1 flippers, Sphere 1 mirror.
Sphere 1 hook.
Yep. Okay. So just a bug net, and he's gonna finish it out. He's gonna do all of Swamp. And itsotter lining up the hammer yump. And he gets it! First try. Looks so... Oh! He found the Nether medallion.
It's very interesting. We'll see what that Misery Mire required medallion is.
And that's gonna... Oh, and itsotter is making short work of this dark maze. He gets the bottom chest. It's just a heart container. CJ Hammer was on the Hype Cave NPC. And I got to give itsotter a lot of credit. While I can do this maze in the dark, I cannot do it backwards. So learning it forwards is one thing, but learning it forwards and backwards is another thing. And oh my gosh, the fire rod is in pod.
Wow. Okay, that definitely raises the question of where the heck that lamp is going to be.
That's what I'm thinking. Where's the lamp?
I mean, in my experience, the lamp is always in Swamp, so Arusta might find it in about 5 seconds here.
I mean, it's possible it's just on the right side. I can't tell you how many times I found the lamp right here, but not this time. All right, so Lilyfin, I don't think lamp as of right now can be in Tower of Hera, because unless the flute is in Lower Hyrule, we have no logical access to Death Mountain yet.
Yeah, I mean, it could still be, geez, we've got a Gina's Cave that we haven't checked. Gosh, that's about it, though, for where the lamp could be. We'll see what's in there as Arusta shows it to us right now.
Oh, and itsotter not remembering that this is... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I miscounted the keys. That was an item, and he's got his red boomerang. I sit corrected once again.
Yeah, and I think this is really heads-up routing from itsotter. Doing the hammer yump on the way into the back of pod is a really good idea when you don't have the mirror, right? Because then you don't mind walking down through Harmless Hellway like he's doing right now to get back to King Helmasaur.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer CJ's question, lamp and Pyramid Fairy, is that allowed? It is if we find the flute in Lower Hyrule. Because Tower of Hera is a red crystal, so we need a way there.
Yeah, and trying to keep track of where else, like lamp or flute, something to give us access to the mountain could be. We have still got those fetch quests that are kind of floating. All three of them are actually available right now: shovel, mushroom, and powder. And we have not seen the north side of Dark World at all. So like Graveyard Ledge and the front of Skull Woods. We've also got that cape, which could lead us to whatever's on Bumper Ledge as well.
And actually, Chad just pointing out, I am incorrect. The boss for Desert Palace is firelocked. And we just found the fire rod in the dark. So Lamp cannot be in Pyramid Fairy.
So exciting gameplay on your screens right now as both of our runners are in dark rooms at this point. itsotter will be able to make use of the fire rod in the Dark Turtle room here in just a second.
Yeah, and I like this play. itsotter is here. He's found a bunch of items, but Pod is green pendant, so there's actually 2 more items. Behind Helmosaur King.
And yeah, you got to think that Otter is going to follow that fire rod to Skull Woods pretty soon, since that's a crystal, and then he can clear up those North Dark World checks if he wants to.
And looks like Arusta is going to logic break the mountain. And he's going to get his red cane and probably go right ahead and do Tower of Hera.
Yeah, no Bombos at the moment, so he will not have to think too hard about whether he wants to go into Turtle Rock just yet.
No, and he's going to be able to clear out all of Death Mountain real quickly. He's going to be able to get that Quake medallion if he needs it from Meyer. He's already got the red cane. He's going to get the book out of Super Bunny. And nothing on Helmosaur King. So let's see how quickly itsotter decides to go for that green pendant.
All right, so Arusta found 3 bombs in the map chest on the first floor there, and we're not going to see Harapot from him at this point. He's going to go ahead and do the right side of the mountain right now.
Yeah, and this is one of those times where Harapot would really pay off. We know it's Ambrosia, so there's that last item on the boss. And because Arusta, from the looks of avoiding it, can't do Harapot, he actually doesn't have the ability to finish the dungeon because he doesn't have a fire source to get that big key out of the basement. And so this is one of those times where the Harapot would actually really pay off. Looks like itsotter is going to check out Skull Woods. He does have that fire rod, so he's going to be able to make short work of Mothula and the rest of this dungeon, especially with Blue Mail and Half Magic.
Yeah, and there's a decent chance this part of the world has the next logical progression that both of our runners have skipped over at this point.
Yeah, between both of them, there aren't a whole lot of places left. I mean, I'm at this point, I'm just wondering, is Lamp, front of Skull Woods or something? The other thing is it could be in the front of Desert Palace.
Well, we would need the flute for that as well, because the book was on Death Mountain, so it is also locked by either the lamp or the flute.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So it can't be there. So other than Skull Woods, Floating Island had the Quake medallion.
Yeah, I think we're going to see.
That was a really nice torch room by itsotter.
Yeah, one of the advantages of that half magic, you can just use all the fire rod shots you want and get those Gibdos out of your way very quickly.
Yeah, and with tempered fire rod, The victory music is going to play almost as fast as the boss music. Ooh, and Zotter getting a couple of unlucky swipes as Mothula hitting those spikes. And a full heart for his efforts.
But his second crystal and fourth completed dungeon already.
Yeah, unfortunately, 2 of those are pendants, and it looks like Itzotter's going to head back in and double down on the fire rod, blocking progression.
Yeah, this chest and the vanilla big key chest in Skullwoods are always kind of annoying because it's like, do I have to go back in and check this? But you don't want to have to walk all the way back here again if that does turn out to be the second item.
So we know that the fire rod was in pod, and so going there was payoff number 1. The question is, as chat's talking about, payoff number 2, the shovel. The shovel was in the front of pod. So lamp could be in the dig spot.
Yeah, that's definitely very true. And I mean, there's still that mushroom hanging out that both of our runners have had for quite a while that could be holding just about anything.
That's true. And it would be kind of nice to route that in with Catfish. Catfish could have that lamp. The Witch's Hut could have that lamp. Skull Woods has Bombos. And that's going to put... Nope. Not going to put TR on Logic. We still don't have Death Mountain access.
Yeah, not even possible for Otter yet without the mirror, unfortunately. But if Arusta gets back there, he can start thinking about Turtle Rock potentially.
Yeah, now...
But he would probably be up there without Fire Rod.
Yeah, now, Antissim just brought up a scary point. Titansmiths, Flippers, Bombos, all in Logic. Ice Palace is a pendant.
All right, Otter stopping to think there for a second. Let's hope he's thinking about potentially Mushroom and Zora at this point. He's going to head back up the mountain.
Oh no!
I think all he's got left.
Arusta is dipping back into Thieves Town for that last item in the big chest. So it's things like this that can give Otter a chance to catch up, for missing out on that mirror.
Yeah, and so it looks like Otter is thinking about Tower of Hera, so he's going to have to walk the long way around. Might also do Spike Cave, coming out of Hera at this point.
You know what? That's a good point. We did get that cape early. We have half magic. We do have a bottle, but with half magic, do you need 1 bottle for Spike Cave, or...
I don't even think you need a bottle, because I think the logic just uses can you extend your magic bar, and half magic counts as that.
Okay. Itsotter does have the book, so we're going to get a quick look at the ether tablet.
Yep, and if Itsotter is comfortable with the Hera pot, we'll be able to get a crystal out of Hera as well, so that always makes sense to do when you can do it.
Oh, and unfortunately, Arusta just double-dipped Thieves Town for $20. And what's nice about itsotter hitting Tower of Hera this late is that with a fire source, he doesn't need to worry about the hookshot clip.
Yeah, those developer intended strats always confuse me. So
Arusta going to give us a quick look at the magic bat.
ooh, ice rod on the bat.
And the hunt for the ice rod is over. Arusta gets the hookshot clip. All right, so Arusta's just kind of going back and filling in the gaps with that hammer. Going to check hammer pegs. And hey, when you've got the cape in half magic, why not?
Yeah, absolutely makes this fight pretty trivial at this point if Moldorm just goes right through you.
So Tower of Hera had nothing but 6 bombs. And unfortunately, Rooster checks the bumper cave. That was so quick. I did not get a chance to see what was on that ledge.
Just the bloomerang there.
Okay.
But yeah, Rooster will show us Graveyard Ledge, which Otter could not.
And Spike Cave, unfortunately, is turning up empty.
So the good news for Otter is that his options are narrowing, while Arusta has still not sort of caught up by making that pendant pod dip to find the fire rod. So all of this time that Arusta is spending cleaning up overworld checks. Ooh, the flute's a good payoff, though.
Yeah, and what's worse is, once again, that's another item behind the mirror. So that's gonna put itsotter potentially a little farther behind.
Yeah, that's going to be rough because there's so much stuff he's going to have to clean up when he finally gets to that mirror. And when Swamp opens up, Graveyard Ledge is going to be about the last thing on his mind.
Yeah, so right now I have to put Arusta in a lead. Yes, he still needs that fire rod, but he's going to run out of places sooner than Arusta or itsotter is to check. And if he remembers, those items he got early, Pod is probably going to be one of the first places he goes when he's hunting for that fire rod. Virtue Cat asking what was in Pod: the fire rod and the shovel, and I believe ether were all in Pod.
Shovel was actually on Pyramid Ledge, but
Thank you.
And yeah, it's worth noting that that fire rod was lamp locked in Palace of Darkness. So trying to think where that could be. Theoretically, it could be now in the Mire area. Since that flute was in logic even without lamp.
Right. So now that we've got that flute, the Mire Shed, Checkerboard Cave, and the front of Desert Palace are all in logic.
Yeah, and even that other stuff that we found up on Death Mountain, like the book, is in logic with that flute. So Bombo's tablet is also theoretically possible. That would be a terrible place for a lamp, but
Oh gosh. You are right. So I'm curious where Arusta is going right now.
I'm thinking activating the flute.
Oh, of course. I'm thinking to myself, why would you not go straight to Desert Palace? It's a crystal. It's a red crystal. Well, you've got to go free the bird. So I request that you all rise and salute.
So yeah, having no fire source will be a little bit of a pain for Arusta in the Mire Desert area.
I think we're going to see the flute sooner than later. Or excuse me, the lamp. The lamp. Well, now, oh my gosh, lamp could be in TR. That flute opens up Death Mountain, TR, and a whole lot of other unpleasant locations up there.
Because yeah, that first check would be in logic without the fire rod, and so without the lamp. But
oh my goodness, and Mire is ether.
wow, so Pendant Pod really paying out today.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say that pendulum just swung back in itsotter's favor. The longer Arusta puts off pod, the bigger a shot that itsotter has a chance to come back.
Although having Ether there means that Arusta is also going to run out of options a little bit sooner. He can clear out Desert, but then it's pretty much only Pod available to him.
And Arusta knowing exactly where to mirror to get to the back of Desert Palace. Unfortunately, okay. Oh, he's gonna steal a key. I was just gonna say, unfortunately, he's gonna forget that he can't get too far without fire, but he's stealing a key. So interestingly enough, both of our runners are gonna end up in Desert Palace around the same time. itsotter is gonna be doing it with the book. Arusta is gonna be doing it with the flute mirror combination.
Yeah, and I really like this play from Arusta because you might as well grab the key. It's sort of on your way, and then you can kind of decide what to do with it here in a second. And of course, if the small key or any key is on the torch, the seed will not necessarily. Oh, the small key is on the torch. So the seed is not expecting you to clear this without the boots. But if you can jump that logic without really penalizing yourself, which our runners will be able to do from the looks of things, this will work out pretty well for Arusta that he can safely get the lamp and the big key out of here, and then can come back later when he's got the boots to actually clear out the boss and everything.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate, with that layout because, well, I guess there aren't enough chests because you had the first item. So in theory, you could just go right for the boss, but you need to burn that small key to get the big key. And so our runners are going to have to come back here after getting the boots out of TR. They are finally going to get that lamp, which is really going to start to open things up logically.
Yeah, I had to think through the logic of stealing that key as I was saying that very long run-on sentence, because I don't think I've ever done it before in a non-key sanity seed.
Yeah, so it looks like Arusta is going to go back and finish Tower of Hera now that he's got a fire source. But he's still not going to be able to get into TR without a Bombos medallion.
Yeah, so he will be pretty funneled into Palace of Darkness after this Hera clear.
And did I miss? Okay, no.
Ooh, let's see where Otter is headed right now.
I think itsotter is going to turn in that green pendant. He's been sitting on it a while. He's going to wonder if it's going to pay off. Fortunately, not today.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're pretty much in no mode, right? Other than not knowing exactly where in Turtle Rock the boots are. Between our two runners, they've found everything they need.
Yeah, that is correct. We've got Bombos on itsotter's side, which is going to give us that TR access. We know the boots are in TR. We don't know where. The Fire Rod and Ether Medallion is in Pod, which itsotter has. Arusta is going to have to eventually dip in. Now, we've got itsotter. Oh, Arusta taking a Death Warp?
Yeah, just refilling his health there after doing Hera Basement.
Okay. So itsotter is going to turn in the mushroom.
And it's pretty much now or never on this trip back to Zora.
Yeah, is he going to go to Zora and get that mirror? Now's the time. Oh, no. He's got the bow and arrow out. He's doing it. He's doing it.
All right, good.
Itsotter, where are you going?
Oh no, is he thinking about using the whirlpools? I think it would have been faster to just run there, but I'm not sure.
I think he might be thinking Ice Palace. Oh no. And as Arusta finishes up and gets his fifth crystal. Fourth. I can count. I can do math. Arusta's going to get his fourth crystal by finishing up Tower of Hera. Itsotter is going to dip Ice Palace, and unfortunately, we know that he's not going to find anything progression related in here. I mean, maybe silvers, maybe some red mail, but at this point, nothing really that's going to help you finish the seed any faster.
Yeah, so he was headed towards Zora and then second guessed himself, and decided to do this Ice Palace trip first, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, the best he can hope for is to find 3 items and find them quickly. He's going to find the big key, which is just not what you want.
Yeah. I was going to say, since he can't do Icebreaker, without the cane. Sort of the best he can hope for is if the two items are in like Freezor and the big chest, and he can kind of skip the right side altogether.
Yeah, and it looks like Arusta's going to go ahead and dip pod, which is only going to put him a little bit ahead. Gray Corvid, the lamp was in the front of Desert Palace. So it was in logic. It was not blocked by the Fire Rod, because the Fire Rod was in the Dark Maze of Pod, which Arusta is probably going to go ahead and pick up right now, along with the Ether Medallion. And itsotter going to try and line up. Ice Palace Bomb Jump used to be one of the top-rated tips and tricks to do on the Go Mode podcast list. You'll want to tune into the next episode of the Go Mode podcast to figure out how much that list has changed. We've had a lot of things come out recently. Diver Down, Icebreaker, that were not in the lineup, if you will, when that list was originally generated. So there's a poll right now on the Go Mode Podcast Discord. You're going to want to be sure to fill that out and contribute to what you think the top tips and tricks are in speedrunning A Link to the Past randomizer, and find out if they made that top 10 list in the next episode.
What was your controversial pick to go into the top 5?
I'm going to hold off on that.
I see. Playing the cards close to the vest.
I'm playing them close to the chest. I'm gonna say that my top 5 probably hasn't changed much, except for one. I think at this point, Icebreaker is extremely valuable.
Yeah, that was mine too. Just because I feel like it has more of an effect on like the meta and how you route than just about anything, with the exception of Silverless Ganon.
Yeah, I mean, Silverless Ganon to me is still important, and I think it was actually Herfy who used the logic of how often do you fight Ganon? Like every seed, right? Not every seed are you going to do Ice Palace, not every seed are you going to do certain things, but every game you have to fight Ganon. And so there's always that chance that you'll end up doing Master Sword Silverless. This item layout, unfortunately, is not working out well for itsotter, as he is practically full clearing Ice Palace.
Yeah, didn't find a key anywhere on the left side, so he's going to have to sort of walk the long way around to get to the Iced Tea chest and open up the right side.
Arusta having just a little bit of trouble in the arena of Pod. Yeah, and at this point, with itsotter having gone into Ice Palace now, it's the game is really in Arusta's hands to win or lose.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, Otter might even end up pulling Pedestal before he goes back to Zora.
And when you're at this point in the game, that's actually your best choice, right? If you're itsotter and you're looking at your items and you're looking at what's available to you, and you've invested this much in pendant dungeons, right? You kind of have to follow that, right? You just keep going and hope that it's going to pay off, right? That one item is on the pedestal, and then you're extremely far ahead, because the odds of your opponent doing exactly what you did are slim to none.
Yeah, and once you get into the seat and start feeling behind, it can be really tough to know what your best move is, right? I mean, sometimes your best move is a long shot gamble, might be your highest odds of winning the seat at that point, depending on just how behind you feel. So we will see after the race sort of what Otter's thought process was at this point.
And Arusta picks up his fire rods, going to go ahead and get his ether medallion, and he's going to mirror out. Is he? I don't. Okay, he is going to go ahead and do Helmosaur King, which we know is not necessary. Arusta having a really good cold stare fight, got 2 puffs real quickly, and gets the 3rd. And unfortunately, we are not surprised to see nothing of value on cold stare.
Yeah, did a nice job pinning those puffs against the north wall and got a double spin off. So got 3 spins off on the puffs in the first about 5 seconds of the fight. So very nicely done there.
So at this point, we know that everything for itsotter is behind the mirror. Logically, I mean, yes, he can get to TR and get the boots, but logically, that's well, he does have the lamp, and so that's in logic for him with the book. And Arusta is just a Bombos medallion away from go mode. And itsotter is going to go ahead and check Lumberjack Ledge. And see that he made the right gamble in the beginning.
Yeah, good point from Vortex. The lamp is out of logic for Otter, right? Because he does not have the mirror to get to that flute yet. So if he's thinking about that, he should know that sort of nothing he really needs to progress is going to be lamp locked at this point.
Right. And unfortunately, it looks like itsotter's having a little bit of trouble finding the best way to the pedestal. It's funny, you don't go there that often. Sometimes you forget the best way to get there. And we are going to see a ped pull. What are you hoping for at this point? Red mail, silvers?
Silvers, I think, would certainly be the funniest. So let's go with that.
Womp womp.
Well, I think Otter also potentially has the Thieves Town big chest that he could go back for, but looks like he is headed east. And this should be the Zora play at this point.
Oh no, he bails again. Arusta going to go ahead and turn in his green pendant from the Palace of Darkness. He's going to get his 3 bombs and continue his quest for the Bombos medallion. And I think chat is correct. It looks like at this point, the only reason why itsotter is going to be coming back here is to do the Thieves Town big chest. I mean, he's full cleared Skullwoods. He's done all of the Village of Outcasts and the the Smith chain, and I think Arusta is going to check the pyramid, which is just going to lead to a fetch quest. That's just going to leave him feeling disappointed.
Yeah, and I think he has already done catfish, so pyramid was going to be pretty hard isolated if he didn't do it right now. So,
yeah, I do think the optimal route would have been to mirror to Link's house and route in the pyramid fairy, pick up that red bomb, and do it all in one shot. Oh, he can't. I'm sorry, he can't do that because Desert Palace is the other red crystal, and we haven't seen him do that yet. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what's left for Arusta.
yeah, I actually don't remember where Bombos was at this point.
I think Bombos was in Skull Woods, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
The front of Skull Woods.
Yes, it was. All right, yeah, that looks like he is headed in the Skull Woods direction.
And itsotter is gonna, unfortunately, check Thieves Town big chest, see that it's nothing, and I mean he's trying to death warp to the front. I'm not sure why he wants to save this Dark World spot.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to wind up saving and quitting to get back to the Light World anyway. So might just be trying to think through what he's got left to check.
Oh, I think he's going to do his magic bat and hammer pegs. Nope. His purple chest.
Yeah, purple chest. Yeah, because he did Smith's before, but of course without mirror, it's very annoying.
Yeah. And it looks like Arusta is going to check pedestal before he dips into Skull Woods. And this isn't a bad play. Now's the time to just make sure, right? Because it could be there. Not 100% sure. What itsotter is routing in.
Yeah, I think he's just not thinking about having to save and quit to get to the Light World to turn in purple chest. Oh, yeah, where is he going? Because he's also been to Catfish, right?
I thought he. No, Arusta checked Catfish. Unless I missed it, it's possible that itsotter did this and I missed it, but I don't think so.
He's just got to drive us crazy and check the wrong fish first.
Yeah. And Arusta gotta be a little careful. Down to one heart. Is he gonna get it? Oh, gets the red potion in time. That was close.
Yeah, he just barely had a few iframes left when he broke that red potion out.
Yes, for those checking, it's itsotter went to check Zora when, in the very beginning of the game, flippers were early and was 7 rupees short Orphan Zora, and unfortunately still hasn't gone back.
And that's just such the frustrating thing about Rando, right? Is, I mean, how often do you go to Zora, go check the waterfall cave and look at Zora Ledge, and you have 400 rupees, and you're like, Zora never has anything, and like you run 20 seeds in a row and it's fine. And then one time he has the one item that you need.
Or if you're in my boat, right, you have 400 rupees, you're Orphan Zora, you go an hour and you say, oh my gosh, where's this last item? And you go check Zora now that you have tons of rupees, and it's a 5-piece.
Yeah.
And you were right from the get-go to orphan it, Yeah, so at this point, I think, unfortunately, Arusta is just too far ahead. He's going to finish out the Skullwoods checks. He's eventually going to find Bombos. I'm a little surprised he hasn't decided to do he's doing Crystal Dungeons.
Yeah, I would have been tempted to go to Mire and Desert immediately on finding the Fire Rod, but Skullwoods also makes sense to just clear everything out of here. I think he's probably thinking about go moding Mire as much as possible.
And Otter is finally making the play, and I think his heart is just going to sink when he sees how early he could have had the mirror. And I'm glad he's finally going there. I just fear it could be a little too late.
And that's official go mode for Arusta finding the Bombos there in Skull Woods.
At 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 42 seconds.
And yeah, just every time I make a Sphere 1 check like this, an hour into the seed, I just think to myself, please don't let this be anything. Because as soon as you do, as soon as you find something that was early on, you're just sure that your opponent has had it forever. So that really feels bad for Otter at this point.
And Arusta gonna opt not to do Mire. And you know what? I understand this. He's gonna go do Turtle Rock. He's gonna get the boots first, and then he's gonna come back and do the Mire Desert combo.
Yeah, given that you have to have those boots to do Mire and Desert, you can't do Turtle Rock and GT all in one trip. So yeah, I think this is the right call to go ahead and get the boots first.
And so itsotter, now that he has that mirror, he's going to go get Samaria. And we actually could see both our renders in Turtle Rock at the same time. Laggy, no, Arusta has not done Desert Palace Misery Mire. Desert Palace is boots locked, and we know the boots are in Turtle Rock. Yeah, and it looks like itsotter is going to go ahead and do Turtle Rock. So both our runners are going to be in there. And let's hope we see that high five. It's always nice to see that speed high five.
Yeah, unlucky for Otter that he's going to be pretty much full clear in this. Not that Go Mode Turtle Rock is ever too much faster than a full clear. But we'll likely see Arusta skip Mimic Cave and maybe the big chest, depending on the key layout.
Yeah, and chat pointing out that unfortunately, itsotter, now that he has the mirror, and that's going to open up a bunch of things, still is going to have to check Graveyard Ledge for that flute. So, he's going to do Turtle Rock, and that's great. probably going to hit up swamp soon, but is still going to be a ways off not having that flute.
And of course, all of that stuff we were saying about how much of Turtle Rock you can do without Fire Rod did not apply based on the big key being in the first chest.
You're absolutely right. That big key basically means you can't check anything else, and boots are fire locked. And unfortunately, Arusta is going to use that mirror, and we're not going to get the high five. Oof.
Yeah, those jellies on the moving platforms are quite awful.
That's right. For those of you who don't know, you're never going to want to swing your sword at those jellies. If you have it, use the hook shot. Because if they electrocute you, they will knock you off, and you will go back to the start of wherever you entered the room. And at 1 hour and 34 minutes, both of our runners are in the Chain Chomp room together.
And yeah, Otter picking up a bit of time there, navigating through those chain chomps very quickly.
Yeah, and I think this is where we're probably going to see another divergence. Arusta is going to steal the key here, while itsotter is going to have to check the lava chest. And it is because of this key right here that gives you the possibility of sometimes skipping things like the big chest and sometimes even laser bridge, depending on if you get a small key in that crystal roller room. We'll see if Arusta is as lucky in this case.
Yeah, it was the big shield in the lava chest. I think that you can only get bitten by stealing the key if both lava chest and the big chest have a small key.
Right. And Vortex, you are correct in that if itsotter is putting the pieces together, he knows Lamp can't be here because the lamp was fire locked. Or excuse me, that the flute was your access to the Death Mountain. Unfortunately, I think it's safe to say he's probably lost track of that. I know
Yeah,
I would have lost track of that by this point.
Yeah, it's been a very convoluted seed logic-wise. Especially when, you know, something like the book could potentially have given you access to that lamp, but then you don't remember where you got the book, is what usually happens to me.
Yeah. And Arusta checking his chest in Crystal Roller Room, but he's already got the 2 keys he needs to completely skip that and the laser bridge. So he's probably got one of the best key layouts you could hope for Go Mode TR. Ooh, and Arusta took a little bit of a wrong turn there. Gonna get a little turned around here in the TR. There he goes. He's back on track.
It's a very annoying maze to try and get your bearings in once you get off of your regular route.
Absolutely. Arusta just going to pick up one more safety by powdering the anti-fairy, and is going to head right over to Trinex for his fifth crystal.
Yeah, and should be a pretty quick fight with this butter sword. Just 3 slashes for each of the heads.
itsotter is doing a real nice job on Laser Bridge, not using the cape and avoiding those laser beams. That is not easy. And if he's counting, I'm pretty sure this is the... Nope. I'm not counting. So itsotter will have full cleared TR. Arusta making short work of Trinex with that butter sword. And down he goes.
And yeah, very nice bootless laser skips from Otter there.
Let's see how itsotter does with his Trinex kill. Using Tempered Sword. Who was that butter sword?
Cave 45, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Behind the mirror. That makes sense. And Arusta's gonna flute to 6. Gonna pod and desert, or pod. My goodness. Mire Desert Palace combo. And I suspect we're gonna see itsotter head into Swamp.
Yeah, Swamp would make a lot of sense here. But yeah, if he does decide to go to Graveyard Ledge right away, that would not put him too far behind Arusta in Go mode.
It wouldn't. But unfortunately, I just, with all the locations that make themselves available, I don't see itsotter racing to Graveyard Ledge, which is unfortunately where that flute is.
Yeah, he's also stopping to pick up Quake, which is absolutely the right thing to do since he doesn't know what the Mire medallion is yet.
And Arusta does not find the big key. So let's see if it's the Godmire, and you can find it on the right side. For those of you who are not familiar with the terms, Godmire is when you find the big key in that chest in the spike room with the smoke key, basically enabling you to go right to the back. If you are not as so fortunate as to get the Godmire, the Demi-Godmire is when you find the big key in the bridge chest, just one room away. Or 2 rooms, excuse me, 2 rooms away. But it looks like Arusta is going to continue on. And there's the big key, so he's going to head straight for the back of Mire. Verts, Arusta found the flute in Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, the big story of this race has been Mirror on Zora, which Otter was 7 rupees short of checking about 15 minutes into the seed, which is when Arusta was there. So that really has just had a lot of unfortunate ripple effects for Otter the entire seed.
Yeah, for those of you who are just tuning in, that was pretty much the front of the race. And because of the logic that was available to itsotter, he actually dipped pod much earlier than Arusta, where he was able to find the Fire Rod and the Ether Medallion, giving him the access he needed to Mire, but more importantly, the Fire Rod, which enabled him to do Skull Woods and other Firelock locations. Coincidentally, Desert Palace, which Arusta was not able to Herapot clip. So it seemed for a while that itsotter might have had more of a fighting chance, but just put off Zora a little too late.
Yeah, honestly, if the flute had been anywhere but mirror locked, this would have been a lot closer race, even with as long as it took Otter to get that mirror. Because otherwise, it only would have blocked him finishing Mire and Swamp Palace. Or Mirror would have only locked Swamp Palace, assuming he managed to find the flute somewhere else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's interesting. As early as we had Swamp Palace access, there was nothing there. Arusta making extremely short work of the Vitreous's small eyeballs with the boots and butter sword. Really like to see that. And then 8 arrows to the monocle.
Yeah, that cape makes it a very safe fight, but lining up every single one of the eyeballs with those dashes is pretty precise. So that was very nice from Arusta.
Hats off to him. That was poetry in motion. It looks like itsotter is going to take no chances here on orphaning any more items, and unfortunately is going to do the left side of Swamp, and we know that there's nothing of interest back here. And Arusta going to finish Mire, mirror right over into the light world, get that small key off the torch so he can get his big key and finish up Desert. And a real nice diver down by itsotter. This is definitely the best way to do left side Swamp if you have to do it.
Yeah, the diver down is a fairly precise trick, but it's not too bad, especially with the cane. I also really like the bomb part of that trick, where you sort of leave the upper room while the bomb is still exploding, and then it triggers the switch later, which is actually a really easy trick to do. It's a pretty wide window of when you leave the room.
So Arusta is about to finish his 7th crystal dungeon.
What does that mean?
I don't know, Arusta. What could that possibly mean? Why don't you go ahead and tell us?
I think that means that we get to play a little guessing game, since there are 22 locations in the Ganon's Tower basement where the big key might be. So if anyone in chat would care to take a guess at that, just put a number 1 through 22 in chat after the bot opens up the game.
And with Butter Sword, Lamola's goes down super fast. And getting a little leg. Okay, there we go. And there's that 7th crystal. And the bot is active and the numbers are flying. Cool, Papa Bell. What do you like to guess in this little mini game we have?
I put 9 in there, which is somewhere in the vicinity of the fire bar room or fire snake room. one of those two, depending on how you route things.
Okay. I'm gonna hope for Hope Room. I'm holding out hope upon hope. itsotter is making very quick work of Argus. Had one cycle. Is he going to be able to get it before this puff takes off? Yes, he does. Oh, but I think the animation started, and I think it delayed just a little bit longer. But 2 spin slashes with the Tempered Sword. Argus goes down. And itsotter is unfortunately 2 crystal dungeons behind. He's probably going to use the book to finish out Desert Palace. But he's still going to have to find that flute before Misery Mire.
Yeah, because he's still got Bombos Tablet to check, so it would definitely make a lot of sense routing-wise to sort of do that directly into Desert.
And I like this play here. While he's still in the Dark World, he's got the mirror. He's going to go ahead and check Cave 45 real quickly. Unfortunately, as you pointed out, he's just going to find that Butter Sword. Which, at this point, you know, while it's always nice to have butter, it's the last thing on his mind right now.
And if anybody has any last-minute guesses, get those in right now before Arusta heads into Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, and itsotter is going to go ahead and check Bombo's tablet. Not going to find anything there. And my guess is dip into Desert Palace at this point. Small key, 2 small keys in Hope Room. But he is not going to proceed to do the Compass Room. He's going to head over to the left side.
Oh, silver arrows were on the Bombos tablet.
Again, real nice to have, but probably the last thing he's looking for, unfortunately. He's finding all the nice to haves. Butter, sword, silvers. And there's our big key in the Dark Magician room. So that would be, I believe, is that number 4?
Yes, that was number 4.
And I think Amarith was the first player to guess number 4, first and only. So congratulations to Amarith. You win 11 points. Unfortunately, points don't matter. Insert clip about old game show here.
I think GT Big Key Guessing Gamer winners also win a lifetime subscription to the Go Mode Podcast, redeemable at gomodepodcast.com.
Now that's something worth talking about. For those of you just tuning in, this mentor tournament is being run by the Go Mode Podcast. Head on over to gomodepodcast.com. All things ALTTPR related, tips, tricks, and everything you need to become a pro. And at this point, Arusta is just trying to finish up GT as fast as possible. Interestingly enough, you know, we know Arusta is actually really far ahead. But when you're an hour and 50 minutes in GT, you know, what's going through your mind, Cool Papa Bell? Like, you know, how are you feeling when you're looking at the clock and your opponent hasn't clocked in yet.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially when you're sort of thinking about all of those things that you could have done sooner, like, oh, I could have gone into Skull Woods faster and gotten Bombos, or oh, I should have dipped Pod sooner. That it can be really hard to kind of focus at the end of the race, just on top of the normal adrenaline of trying to go as fast as possible at the tail end of things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It seems that no matter what route you took, when you get to this point and you're looking at the time, you're thinking, oh my gosh, but I could have been here sooner. My opponent is probably so far ahead. And sometimes that's true. It's Otter making real nice work, short work of Lamolas, by the way, with those silver arrows.
Yeah, a couple good snipes in for those last 2 hits.
And Arusta choosing to use the Bombos medallion to save some frustration on the gauntlet here.
Yeah, it is a little bit low on health, so might just be making sure to get through here safely.
Yeah, I actually don't know what the safety situation is for him right now. I did see he had one fairy in a bottle.
I think he's got a blue pot as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's funny, like, unless you absolutely god route a seed, you don't go a single place that didn't have progression, you always think to yourself, like, oh man, what if my opponent did the exact same thing I did, but skipped one chest that I didn't, right? And then you always convince yourself that you're behind.
Yeah, exactly. And itsotter at this point is just running around, kind of doing all those last checks, available to him. Bonk Rocks, picking up the red mail there. We could be seeing Graveyard Ledge pretty quickly. Probably going to do that, and we're not going to see King's Tomb, assuming he does Graveyard Ledge first. But there's really not much else for him to check. And Arusta not wasting any time. He's not going to wait for that door to close. He finished that room in plenty of time. Doesn't have to worry about despawning GT. He just wants to go as fast as humanly possible. For those of you not familiar, if you walk up that stairwell and the torch in the previous room goes out too quick at the same time, that unfortunately causes a glitch to happen and will actually despawn GT, and you'll actually have to start over. So you either want to make sure when you go up that stairwell that you've got plenty of time, or you want to wait for that torch to go out and to hear that chime to make sure it's safe. And it looks like, yes, it's a chat pointing out itsotter did get his flute off of Graveyard Ledge. Gonna go ahead and activate it. Unfortunately, it's just gonna be just too little too late. Real unfortunate item placement for him, stemming back to that mirror location.
Yeah, and like we said, just 9 times out of 10, not doing Zora immediately will be no problem at all. But the 1 time out of 10, it hurts real bad.
Yeah. Rooster getting a single and then a double on Agatu, struggling a little bit here. Gets another double, so he's got one more hit. Yeah, and this is what we talk about, that panic mode just starts to set in as you approach, the 2-hour mark. You're thinking your opponent's right ahead of you, right behind you, on your heels. And with Buttersword, I think it's a pretty safe fight. Buttersword, Cape, half magic. Arusta is going to be just fine doing Ganon Silverless.
Yeah, and a couple of bottled safeties just for some backup.
Yep. Yeah, 12 hits to get to phase 3, and he's got more than enough equipping that cape. Itsotter's in Mire. I'm going to get a couple of keys before finding the big key in the main lobby. Arusta safely into phase 3. Gets the hint about those arrows in the light world. Safely into phase 4.
And has the torch glitch, so shouldn't have any problems with magic during this Silverless Ganon.
No, and he's looking real clean as he continues to get those spin slashes in. It's funny, with Buttersword, you actually don't have to do spin slashes, but if you choose to regular slash, your timing has to be much more impeccable in hitting him during that teleport animation. Whereas with the spin slash, you don't have to worry about that as much. You have much more larger window with a spin slash, even though you don't need it to hit Ganon. Itsotter gets his big key in Mire and heads to his Vitreous fight. Arusta just a couple more slashes away. There it is. And get those GGs ready. There's just one small bridge he's got to cross. And with an official race time of 2 hours and 31 seconds, Arusta takes the game. Congratulations, Arusta. Well done.
Absolutely GG's to Arusta.
And do want to point out, while we were busy congratulating him, Itsotter did get the spooky action glitch in Mire. So kudos to him. Missed the setup, but he did successfully do that.
And very nice spin strats on Vitreous as well, so showing off some nice execution through Misery Mire there.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, he's a GT climb Aga 2 fight behind. So let's see. If we can get Arusta in here. Unsure yet.
Well, it's a good time to shout out our Restreamer Oro and our tracker Antissim again. Thank you very much for helping us put on this broadcast. And as Daddy Gamers gets the links in chat there, also thanks to our runners for agreeing to broadcast their race. Be sure to head over to their channels, check them out, give them a follow. I'm sure they would appreciate it. And Otter headed into GT as well. Looks like he took a glance at that sword in Cave 45 and didn't even bother picking it up.
Yeah, we do know he checked that and just decided wasn't worth it. Felt comfortable with tempered. And Arusta did reach out. We are going to try and get an interview with him. Just he's got a couple of tech things he needs to work out on his end before he hops in for an interview. And unfortunately, itsotter is going to be doing the right side first, which is just going to add a little more time since we know that that big key is in Dark Magician's room. I have to say though that when I route GT, you know, when I find a small key in Hope Room, I hit this up. You know, I like to let the key layout determine my route. If I don't find the small key, I go full left side. If I do find that small key in Hope Room, I'll usually hit up the compass room and do those 4 and then mirror and do the full left side. So I don't disagree with that routing choice there.
Yeah, GT is always such a just total crapshoot. I mean, I haven't seen any actual statistics on, you know, if there are any things with the key layout that can sort of suggest that the big key is more likely to be on one side or the other. I might have to look back over those 50,000 seeds that Dunka rolled and tried to analyze and take a look at that.
Yeah, it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because it always just feels like a complete guess of where you're going to find that big key.
Yeah, the one stat I actually remember from all that data was that there's a 2.5% chance that the silvers are in the pre-Moldorm chest and a 2.5% chance that the silvers are in the Moldorm chest. So at 5%, if I don't have silvers, that's kind of high when you consider like every chest in the game, there's a 5% chance that silvers are there. So, you know, sometimes I'll check that. And it looks like Arusta is in GG Arusta. Oh, looks like we're having just a little bit of tech issues. Still can't quite hear him.
Here now.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. So what went on with the seed? Because I was really worried, like when I basically full cleared everything except Ice Palace.
So basically, you both had similar routes in the beginning, but when it came to Zora, you had the money and got the mirror, and unfortunately, itsotter was about 7 rupees, was 7 rupees short and orphaned it. which wouldn't have been so bad, but I think on 2 other occasions later, instead of heading back to check the Zora item, decided to bail and do other checks. And so the mirror was blocking Arusta from Samaria. The flute on Graveyard Ledge obviously was the bigger thing. He did logic break Death Mountain, which kind of gave him a leg up, and he did pod very early, since there was nothing else in logic to him without that mirror. So he did get the Fire Rod and Ether Medallion before you, but unfortunately that wasn't enough, and it was really that mirror on Zora that did it in.
Oh, that makes sense. I can't tell you how happy I was to actually see something on Zora, because I'm sure you saw, like, I actually farmed the extra 40 rupees there, and I'm like, man, I really hope there's at least something to make this time worth it.
We did. We actually saw you dip into that cave by Ice Rod Ledge and talked about it, how you were just a few rupees short and knew to kind of dip in there and just, make sure you had enough money to make going up and doing all the Zora checks worthwhile. So kudos to you on getting that done.
Yeah, it's definitely been a fun tournament thus far. Like, I think all the seeds have been interesting in their own way. So
as we watch itsotter, finish out his GT climb, tell us, like, what were you thinking overall about the race, the layout, how did you feel?
Well, I knew it was trouble when when 45 seconds into, or 5 seconds into the seed, they already said boots and TR. So I'm like, well, those are going to be basically the last thing I get. And then just having to worry, I mean, especially with the way I routed it, I feel like especially with the Hera, I really wish I'd done the Hera pot the first time. I really thought about it, but I'm not too great with the bootsless setup. And I was like, well, I could probably come back here. I was hoping that, maybe I'd be able to route it in with something else, but there was nothing else around there. So didn't feel too great with that. I think I was okay. I felt okay with the way I played in general, just that routing, especially the Death Mountain. I want to say I made 4 separate climbs or something like that.
Yeah, we saw a lot of trips up Death Mountain this seed from the two of you combined, so.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, it was 3 minimum required, right? You needed to go up there on a couple of different occasions, at the very least, to get those boots to do desert and then head back up there. And, waiting that long, it's hard. You actually did it pretty efficiently, at least from the get-go, where you were able to do it with the Titan's mitts and the mirror.
Yeah, I had thought about doing it, like, as soon as I found that first glove, I thought about, should I go up here before I did Eastern? And I was like, well, there's a decent chance I'll find Bow or something. I have no problem with doing the Eastern Dark Rooms since they're fairly straightforward. I'd much rather at least get these 8 items here, stay somewhat in logic, and then maybe I'll be able to route in Death Mountain more efficiently. And it did turn out that way, so I was happy about that.
Yeah, the other routing choice, I think, was after you did pod and got that Fire Rod out of there, it felt like you really wanted to clean up a lot of the overworld checks before heading into your dungeons like Mire or Skull Woods. Do you want to talk about that decision at all?
It was a bit of I thought that was, even as I was making it, I'm like, I don't know if this is the right play, because what I really thought about is I probably should have checked Pyramid before I checked Pod, because I'm like, well, I didn't have that many checks left in logic. I needed 3 items, so it's like, well, what are the odds they're all in Pod? Because the only way doing Pyramid Ledge before Pod would really help me out is, like, if one of the 3 items was there and then the other 2 were in Pod. So then when I found the other 2 on Pod, I'm like, this is probably not as good as doing the Crystal Dungeon, but at this point, like, I really don't want to feel like, oh, I should have done this sooner. Completely last location it because I flew away. So that was pretty much my logic there.
Yeah,
doing Skull Woods before Mire was pretty much just because I also wanted it. It's 2 items either way, but I thought with Skull Woods, I would at least also get the pedestal check right there, so I could find out if I needed to do Ice Palace. And route that in before Meyer.
Yeah, we were actually talking about how after you finished pod, there was, because you had already done catfish, there was never going to be a better time to check the pyramid ledge. That was as good as it was going to get, short of coming back with the red bomb, for pyramid fairy. And at that point, you weren't going to need that, right? You were looking for the medallion, and you knew it wasn't going to be in there because your boots were in TR and you were looking for your TR access, and that's what you needed for desert. So never a better time to check pyramid.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was thinking. Also, GG's to Otter. That was a very nice Ganon fight there. Super clean.
Yeah, get your GGs in chat, guys.
Yeah, especially that first double was a really nice setup with timing the torch just right to get Ganon in the center of the room for the double silver shot. So really nicely done from Audrey there.
Yeah, with an official time of 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 26 seconds, itsotter finishes his Ganon fight.
Where in Light World did Otter find the silvers?
Bombos tablet.
That was one I thought about checking, but it was just like never had a good opportunity to check it since I did Swamp and all that early. And so it kept sticking out on my tracker that I'm like, I should probably check that, but never found a real good opportunity. And so never wanted to go there just for that one item.
Yeah, while we're seeing if Otter wants to do an interview, a couple times you made some gambles that didn't quite pay off. So Swamp was pretty early. You opted to go back and do the big chest on the left side, and then I think a little later, you double dipped Thieves Town for that big chest since you didn't have the hammer when you first dipped it. What was kind of going through your mind when you made those gambles and they didn't pay off?
Well, the swamp I felt pretty okay with doing, because at that point I still needed a ton of items. I didn't know I want to say I knew what one of the medallions were, but I didn't have flute. I didn't have either rod, so I knew I needed a lot at that point. So I was like, you know what, leaving 2 items here in Swamp, it's a very awkward check to get back to because you have to re-pull the dam, you have to make it all the way through. The Thieves Town big chest was the one that I was like, this is probably a gamble to take it, because I was able to route it in with the rest of a couple other things there that I'd left out in the village. But yeah, I was kind of shaky on that one, even when it did. And when it came back, I want to say it was like rupees or bombs or something. I was like, man, I wish I'd, whenever you make a gamble like that, you'd like it at least be something not necessarily needed, but at least like a full heart or something that makes you feel like, okay, I at least did something here. But
right,
yeah.
And welcome to itsotter, GG.
GG.
So
that was fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what first impressions? What'd you think of the seed, your run?
7 rupees, very expensive. That's a lot of money. If you'll notice, I didn't take the 20 in Skull Woods, and then I was missing 7 when I went to visit King Zora. So it happens.
Yeah.
In the future, I might take the 20.
Go ahead, Cool Papa Bell.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that was really unlucky for all the times that Zora has just complete garbage. That he came back to bite you pretty hard in this seed, unfortunately.
Yeah, we were even talking at one point. When was there gonna be a good time for you to come back, because you did catfish.
Yeah, I thought about catfish, no mirror, right?
Yeah, that's when you mirror to finish up the Zora area.
Yeah, I basically just played into the idea, like, it's sort of unfortunate that I didn't have slightly more money, or maybe like do Houlihan to have money for pod and then also check Zora. Was like an idea, but since I didn't do it, I was like, I'm just gonna play like nothing's there. I'm gonna commit, as people have advised me, commit to your plays even if they're kind of stupid. And so I carried on as if Zora had nothing. I last checked him.
Yeah,
and you can tell by my time. but I didn't half-ass it. I really orphaned that.
Yeah, and actually, while we were watching the race, so a couple things, because of the layout, you actually dipped pod much earlier than Arusta did, and when we were constantly talking, saying, okay, there's got to be something in pod for itsotter to kind of get back into this, because when we saw that Swamp was a crystal and Mirror was on Zora, it felt like you were starting out behind early. And when that Fire Rod and Ether Medallion showed up,
yeah,
all of a sudden it was like, hey, we might have a race again. Like, this is great.
If I had just ever gone back to Zora, then you might have been right.
And even then, I don't think it was so much that it was just Mirror, but it was also that the flute was behind the Mirror.
Yeah, that was the killer.
That, I think that hurt more than anything else. I mean, the pushing off Zora as late as you did was a gamble, but if the flute wasn't back there, you probably would have found that earlier, because then the flute would have been your go mode, and you would have been able to, I think, make up some ground, go moding, Swamp and
sure,
and Desert. Unfortunately, you had to come back to Mire.
Yep.
But a number of times, man, your execution looked really good.
Thank you.
Kudos on that spooky action glitch. I still have to learn that.
I got the spooky.
You got it.
I got Dark Pod. I did some things I'm proud of.
And the hammer jump into Dark Pod maze.
I just learned that like yesterday. I have never hammer jumped in an actual race before. That's all just practice from yesterday.
Nice.
But I was like, oh, this is a spot I can do it. It's actually like reasonable. So I was just
really.
It wasn't just reasonable because you didn't have the mirror and you had the big key. That is the optimum time to do it.
Yeah, I practiced it, and then the seed gave me perfection. So that was gratifying.
And we were also pointing out, just as you were joining the room, a couple of checks, kind of going back and doing, for example, you also double dipped Thieves Town to go check that big chest. That's one of those checks that you hate to do. You hit up Thieves Town, you find out that you orphan an item because the small key was available, and then you get the hammer, in Hype Cave. So how did it feel having to go back there? And
it's super ugly, but I was like, let's see, I have Lunchbox, and I was confused at the time. I was thinking I could go south after Lunchbox, but obviously no mirror. So I was like, okay, so it's like my path through my remaining checks is do the Thieves Town one, grab the Lunchbox, go to Catfish was it, then get the Lunchbox activated, and then Zora. I think those were my remaining checks. So I was like, that seems like the best path to take at this point. I really don't want to do Zora, because if something was in Zora, then it's long gone. So yeah, I mean, it sucked, but something that happened when I was beginning to do that Thieves Town check was I got confused and ran the wrong way after Sanctuary. So just like being in these weird spots where I'm like almost 100%ing the game, but there's like a few checks and I need to figure out the optimal route to check these 4. That's like interesting to me. Like that is an opportunity for me to learn and be like, oh, like this is another situation where I need to like have routing smarts, which is not like completely automatic.
Right.
So that was good.
And it's unfortunate because that was actually one of those times where we all got hyped up. Oh, he's going to Zora. He's going to get it. It's not going to be that late. And then you turned around and you went back to CAC, and I was like, oh no.
I'm sure that looked terrible, but I was like, no, this is the path for me to still be in this. It was not to be.
And that's part of that, Rando's gonna Rando, right? Because you could have gone to Zora first and found something else, and then you don't go back and do the Thieves Town big chest, and in another seed, that's your progression item.
Right. Yeah, I mean the thing is, like, I'm not comfortable. Isn't there a spot near Desert where you can get money? Like, if I'd been doing the dam check and I was thinking, oh, maybe Zora is a thing,
so
couldn't I farm some money and gone for Zora that way?
So it wasn't there, but there's a rock that you can lift. It's not in Desert. It's on the way to Desert.
Yeah. By the Lunchbox guy.
Yeah, south of the Lunchbox. Also, what Arusta did was after Ice Rod Cave, if you lift that rock, there are some rupees under some pots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In a cave?
Yeah, so it's right under Ice Rod Cave. There's a giant rock there. You can lift it up with just the gloves. You don't need Titan's mitts.
Really? I have never used this.
And
so that's so good to know.
You can go back and watch the VOD, but you lift up a rock. There's an NPC there, and there's 20 rupees, 4 or 5 pieces under a bunch of pots. And Arusta actually farmed that to get his Zora money.
Wow, that is really good to know, because I was thinking, I can go there. Maybe I'll get money in the waterfall chests. If not, just orphan it. It's fine. But if I had known about that, then I certainly would have gone for that. So another thing learned in this race.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunate. So anything else either of you would like to say or comment on?
I don't have anything else on the seed, but I would just like to say, like, this is a super fun thing, and I'm really glad Go Mode Podcast is doing this. I was in the one last year. I'd only done like single-digit seeds, and I want to say my first race was actually like one of the prep races we did before. And it's just amazing to see, just being here for the second time, how much better it works, and even just like hearing explanations from the mentors, how much it more clicks now that I've got actual game knowledge. So it's good.
Yeah, I guess Cool Papa Bell, unless you have another one. My last question to you both will be, so how did it feel, having had that mentor the last couple of weeks, and then, kind of stepping into that tournament race, and now you don't have that mentor, kind of chirping in your ear, giving you a hand, like how did it feel stepping into it? It's like, okay, I'm kind of on my own for this one.
Well, it's harder because you don't have someone telling you where to go, and you saw me run around, back and forth trying to decide what I'm doing. But, it's something you have to get used to. And also, it is, in one sense, easier to commit even to my play if it's not as good as the mentor would have made, because I don't have another voice in my head, or I guess not technically in my head. The mentors are real people, not just in my mind. But because there's only one voice, I just get to commit to what I'm doing. So it's, in a way, like more relaxing.
Awesome. Arusta, anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, sort of the same as Otter said. Like, it's definitely different. Like, I definitely had, a couple places. The biggest one I can remember is Swamp. Like, when how I routed it, Otter, was that I sort of started and I did the full Dark World loop, and I did Hype Cave. I got the hammer, and I'm like, well, do I want to go back to Swamp or do I want to go north? And I started walking to Pod, and then I turned around. Probably should have stayed with Pod given how everything played out, but yeah, that was one of those. That was the biggest one I remember, where I'm like, I got halfway there and I turned around. I'm like, nope, don't want to do this. Let's do the clearable crystal.
That's what's going to happen to us for a bit, I think. And I'm like even newer. I think I've only been playing this game for like 3 weeks ish, so it's tough to go from mentor to no mentor.
Well, you guys put on a great race. It was exciting. The little bit of back and forth with, the mirror. Is he going to go? Oh, Pod had progression. It was definitely exciting to watch and hype up. So thank you both for racing. Cool Papa Bell, anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so, other than, congrats to both of you. It was a lot of fun to watch, and everybody out there, keep your eyes on the Go Mode Podcast channel for more of the Mentor Tournament.
Yeah, so we've gone ahead and put those links in. Go ahead and check out the Go Mode Podcast Discord. Again, go ahead and follow our runners, itsotter and Arusta, both on Twitch. Shout outs to Antissim and SSBM Oro for restreaming and tracking. And go ahead and check out the Go Mode Podcast at gomodepodcast.com. And with that, go ahead, Cool Papa Bell. Why don't you take us out?
I was going to say that will do it for us here. Thank you all for watching. We will see you back here next time, and everybody have a great night.